My beloved child, listen, the door did not suddenly appear today. It has been open for a long time. Only now your eyes are beginning to notice. You thought you were shut inside 4 familiar walls, with shadows you knew by heart, with corners you could describe more clearly than your own face. You sighed many times that there was no way out, that you had been pushed against a dead end, that all you could see ahead was a thick wall. But even while you were sighing, a thread-thin beam of light slipped through a crack, lying quietly on the floor of your life, like a whisper no one heard. Today, I only need to brush the veil from your eyes, and suddenly you see that beam of light, not as a random accident of sunshine, but as the sign of a door left slightly ajar. You recognize that the wall you thought was solid actually has a narrow seam, where light seeps through and dust dances, like tiny promises waiting to be named. The change is not in the bricks, but in your perspective. The room is the same, but your seeing is different, and that difference overwhelms you as if the world has opened into a new dimension you had never touched before. You always imagined a miracle as the moment the wall breaks with a crash. Chains fall with a clatter. Everything changes in an instant, and your life turns a page. But I tell you, sometimes miracles do not arrive with explosions, but with a quiet recognition so deep that your heart pauses a few beats to catch it. You sit in the same room, on the same chair, among the same familiar objects, and suddenly you notice a line of light lying there, so clear you wonder how you ever missed it. It was not because the light did not shine, but because your eyes had grown used to darkness, used to adjusting just enough to survive inside it, so they stopped looking for more. You focused on peeling paint, on cracks in the wall, on stains of the past, until you no longer lifted your head to see if anything was coming through from the other side. Today, I shake your soul gently, like waking someone from a light sleep, and you blink, look around, and realize that the place you thought was an absolute limit actually has a small but certain way out. This awakening unsettles you, because it is both simple and profound. Nothing outside has changed, but everything inside you has begun to shift. I know how it feels when that light strikes your eyes. There is a moment of being caught, as if someone entered the private room you had kept closed, where you thought no one could step inside. There is also a hint of regret, as you realize the door was open long before, and you lived through many seasons without drawing near. You ask yourself, if I had seen earlier, would my life be different? If I had recognized that beam of light on the days I cried alone, would I have been less lonely? I hear every question, my child. But I do not come to blame you for being late. I come to tell you that even if you were slow, I stood patiently on the other side, waiting for you to turn. The door did not slam shut because you had not seen it. It stayed ajar. Like a persistent promise, I slipped into time. Every speck of dust dancing in the light was a reminder that hope had not left this room. Every time you stepped across that beam without noticing, I watched quietly, knowing there would come a day when you would stop, look down, and ask, where does this light come from? Today is that day, the day your awareness catches up with my waiting. You must understand your seeing the door is not the result of mental effort or strained trying, but the fruit of a deeper process I have been working in you. On the nights you thought you were merely trying to survive, I was widening your inner sight. On the days you thought you were crying out of exhaustion, I was washing your eyes with clear water, so that the dust of disappointment, bitterness, and disillusion would no longer cling as before. Many seasons passed and you felt you were still in the same room, with the same limits. So you concluded there was no progress. But on the deeper level, I have been unlocking the layers around your vision, loosening the chains on how you understood me, yourself, and the world. When I say the door is open, it means that, in eternity, the exit has already been approved. It is only in the realm of days that I must bring your heart to where it can recognize and trust. Now, when awakening touches you like a soft but steady current, you understand that the miracle was not only stepping through the door, but having eyes bright enough to distinguish what is solid wall and what is illusion you built yourself. My child, what I am doing today is not first to pull you out of the room, but to show you clearly that you were never as locked in as you believed. For many years, you lived like someone who imprisoned themselves, hanging pictures of disappointment on the walls, stacking boxes of fear along the edges, placing a chair against the wall so you would not have to look at the emptiness. You thought that was all you had, so you learned to live in that cramped space like a habit. Today, I step in and point at the beam of light on the floor, not to force you to move immediately, but to say, my child, you are not trapped. There is a real way out, and it is open. In that moment, the space inside you begins to vibrate. Old sadness loses some weight because it is no longer a life sentence, but only a temporary passage. Fear begins to lose power because it is no longer the only voice in the room. My voice is rising, filling the emptiness where lies once ruled. You do not have to run yet. You only need to turn your face toward the light, to let your eyes get used to it, to let your heart slowly believe that beyond the wall is a world wider than anything you imagined. Among everything I speak today, the starting point is not a command to do something great, but a small, decisive invitation. Allow yourself to believe that the door truly is open. From that simple trust, every next step will grow like seeds watered. You do not need to strain to imagine the full future beyond. You only need to be honest that you have seen, that you can no longer pretend the light does not exist. This awakening may make you dizzy, because it draws you out of the familiar darkness that felt safe. But I am here, in this room, to hold your hand until you are strong enough to stand. Today, you do not yet have to cross the threshold. But today something essential has happened. You know that there is a threshold, and that is where miracles begin, where the story turns, where the conversation between you and me enters a new chapter. Soon, you will notice a strange thing. Not everyone in the same room sees the same beam of light. Some walk across it every day without a thought, as if it were nothing but a play of sun, too small to matter among so many worries. Some even draw the curtains, afraid that the light will expose what they want to hide. But in your heart, from the moment you recognize that crack, something has been moving quietly and deeply. No one hears that movement, but I hear it as clearly as a hinge turning. You were not chosen because you are better, but because your heart softened when I touched it. Many eyes see the same scene, but only a few allow what they see to go down into their soul. I placed you among the few, not to make you proud, but to make you aware that you are being invited into a deeper conversation, where I explain what others only skim over. Think of someone who lies awake in the middle of the night while the whole house is asleep. Outside, the sky is still the same sky. The darkness is just as thick. The wind still moves through the trees. The clock still ticks like every other night. Nothing on the surface proves that this is a special hour. And yet, the one who is awake hears sounds the sleeping do not hear, senses movements others do not notice. A sacred gate is like that. It may swing open in a moment that looks completely ordinary, but only the one whose heart is awake will feel the air change. You are not better than those who are sleeping. It is simply that I have awakened you, quietly called your name in the night, so you would know something is shifting. From the moment you become aware, your heartbeat begins to change. Your breath is no longer as heavy as before, because deep within, you understand that you are no longer inside a meaningless night. When I whisper into your heart signs that others overlook, I am not playing secret games with you. I am entrusting you with the responsibility of a watchman. A watchman is not someone who panics, running around shouting before anything happens. A watchman is one who listens, who can tell which sounds are normal and which ones signal that a change is drawing near. The responsibility I place on you is not a burden meant to crush you, but a gentle yet profound honor. You are invited into the conversation between heaven and earth. You are not just living as an unnamed passenger, pushed along by the current of events. You are invited to be the one holding my hand, walking awake through a world exhausted by its own sleep. When you recognize the signs in your heart, remember this: it is not your intelligence that helps you understand, but your willingness to let me teach you. I know there have been times you felt strange because you sensed too much. You go out into the street, see a piece of news, hear a story, and while others just shake their heads and forget, your heart grows heavy as if something is pressing down on it. You have thought of yourself as too sensitive, too weak, overthinking everything. But my child, many of the things you call too sensitive are in fact the vibration of your spirit, responding to the signs I have scattered along the way. When a new season is coming, I do not always announce it with roaring winds. Sometimes I only shift the atmosphere very slightly. The way the smell of the earth changes before it rains, the way the air thickens with moisture. The hurried will not notice, but those who listen to their own body will feel their breathing change, their steps unconsciously slow. In the same way, your soul has often reacted to spiritual shifts long before your mind could understand. In those moments when you feel confused because you cannot explain what you feel, I am inviting you to learn to recognize this is not just a mood, this is a signal. Even so, I do not want you to wear this sense of being chosen like a proud garment, but like a familiar shawl I gently lay over your shoulders. The one who stays awake at night has no right to despise those who sleep, for he too once slept like them, and he too will need to rest at another time. Your ability to notice signs does not make you a judge of the world. It makes you an intercessor, a bearer, a gentle reminder in love. When your breathing changes because you sense what I am doing, that is not a signal for you to panic or run. It is an invitation to come closer to me, that I might tune that breath to the rhythm of peace, not the rhythm of fear. The more you know you are chosen to perceive, the more you need to cling to humility, knowing that all of it springs only from the fact that I stooped down to touch your heart, not from any merit of your own. Pay attention to those recent moments when your heart suddenly grew quiet in the midst of a noisy crowd, when you were laughing and then fell silent, as if your soul stepped aside for a moment to listen to another sound. That is not random disconnection. It is the moment I draw you into a deeper layer, to show you that behind the stories, the events, the rumors, there is a spiritual current quietly at work. You are called to discern that current, not so you alone may know, but so you may live differently, calmer when others panic, more focused when others are scattered, gentler when others turn hard. I have placed within you a sense of timing, like a compass inside your chest. Whenever your lips are about to spill out complaints, that compass trembles slightly to remind you something bigger is happening. Don't glue your eyes to what is only temporary. You are called to live with that awareness, not as a burden, but as a privilege to know, to hear, to feel more keenly, so that from that place you may love more deeply and stand more firmly. There came a moment when you stood for a long time before that streak of light on the ground, not because you failed to recognize it, but because you did not yet know what to do with what had just opened before you. You saw clearly that this doorway was not given for you to admire, not a decorative detail in the story of your life, and not a curious object for you to tell others about as some intriguing tale. I did not call you to the threshold to satisfy your curiosity, to let you guess what is on the other side and then walk away like a passerby. I called you to the threshold to tell you that a real shift is awaiting you. A threshold does not exist to be looked at, it exists to be crossed. You can feel this with your whole being, like someone standing at the line between two climates behind you. The old air, before you, a different warmth, subtle yet clear, making your chest suddenly feel as if it has room for one more deep breath. Even so, crossing a threshold is not first a matter of your feet, but of your heart. You once thought the decisive moment was when your foot stepped onto the other side. But I tell you, the real decisive moment is when you acknowledge that you no longer want to live forever in the old. Part of you wants to stay, because the old place, though cramped, is familiar. Everything has been arranged. You know where the cracks in the walls are, and you have learned all the skills to avoid every sharp corner. But another part of you, the part into which I breathed, my life, has begun to long for what is unfamiliar. That longing is not loud, not forceful. It only whispers like a call from ahead. There is more than this. You stand between two voices, one of old habit pulling you back, and one of gentle expectation inviting you forward. That inner tug of war is not a sign of failure. It is proof that you are truly alive, not just acting strong. I see your hesitant steps, and I do not rush you. I know there are things that must be left behind, the words with which you belittle yourself, the memories that bend your shoulders, the labels you stuck onto your own soul and then believed were true. These things cannot cross the threshold, not because I forbid them, but because they have no place in the new ground. If you insist on carrying them, they will be as heavy as stones and drag you backward. I do not ask you to throw everything away in an instant. I invite you to set each burden down, so your heart grows lighter and your feet can rise. A threshold does not require perfection, it only asks for honesty. Do you truly want to stand on the other shore? When you admit that, even while still trembling, a movement begins in your spirit. Like a river, changing course before its waters break their banks. There will come a very small but very real moment your foot will land on new ground before you even realize it. It might be a sentence that does not sound like the things you used to say. A choice that does not resemble your old choices. A long sigh where, instead of complaining, you whisper, "I want something new." Your foot touches new ground without loud noise, without fireworks, without a crowd watching. It is just a small step, but at a deeper level. It is a sound that echoes heaven and earth. Both hear it. You are not stepping to prove anything. You step because your heart is tired of standing still on the old shore. And when your heart shifts, the landscape within you changes. Even if, on the outside, nothing seems different yet, the new world is first an inner space. And from there, you will gradually see the things outside begin to align with it. Do not worry that you do not have enough strength for a long journey. I am not inviting you to run. I am only inviting you to walk. The threshold is not a high wall. It is a thin strip of ground you simply have to cross. What makes it sacred is the meaning of the act every time you step a little out of what is old. You are partnering with what I have already prepared. You will not walk alone, because the light has gone ahead to clear the way. And when you touch new ground, the air will feel different, lighter, wider, easier to breathe. That is how I signal that you have left the old room, even if only by a step. From that moment on, you no longer just look at the door, you know where it leads, not by logic, but by experience. And each new step will strengthen your footing, until you no longer quite remember the cramped feeling of the old place. You will realize this before you can name it. The light I shine is not like stage lights. It does not smash into your eyes. It does not startle your heart like a blaring alarm. My light is like morning on a river. When the surface is still smooth and the thin mist has not yet lifted, it does not push its way in, does not shove, does not compete. It simply exists and seeps into every empty space so naturally that you can hardly pinpoint the exact moment of change. As you stand closer, you see that the far bank is not drawn in harsh, blazing lines, but in soft strokes, light gliding across the water like a gentle hand stroking a child's hair. That is why the shift inside you does not arrive like thunder, but like breath. You inhale and suddenly your heart feels lighter, as though something heavy has dissolved into the air. No one knows when it began, only you know that the weight has left you without needing any noise. I am not leading you onto a stage where all eyes turn toward you and you tremble, afraid you are not good enough. I am leading you along the water's edge, where there is only the small lapping of waves against stone and birds calling to each other in the soft light of dawn. There, you do not need to brace yourself to appear strong. Do not need to adjust your posture or rehearse your words to impress. I do not want to lift you up with applause. I want to lift you with peace. Morning light does not ask if you are ready. It simply brushes your face and invites you to open your eyes. When you do, you see the water shine not because the water has changed its nature, but because a gentle light is present. Many things in your life will unfold this way, not as big events, not as explosions, but as a quiet moment when your heart understands that the old thing no longer holds you. You have been used to harsh light that makes people squint, the kind of light that forces you to prepare, to tense up so your weaknesses won't be exposed. You thought I shone like that too strong, blazing, exposing every flaw so you would be ashamed and fix yourself. But I do not shine that way. My light soothes instead of accuses. It is like a veil of mist laid over the water, covering the surface of the lake with a light cloth. Under that soft light, ugly things are not displayed for mockery, but seen for healing. When you stand in that light, you do not shrink back like someone hiding guilt. You relax like someone who has just been told there is nothing left to prove. Peace comes not because you are perfect, but because you know you are loved in every breath. If you grow quiet for a moment, you will hear the rhythm of that morning. It is not the beat of a war drum, but the steady sound of water touching the shore, wave after wave. That rhythm is like the rhythm of your heart when it is no longer afraid. In recent days, there have been moments when you sit down and notice that your breathing has changed, deeper, slower, no longer rushed like a fugitive. You thought it was only exhaustion finally pausing. But I tell you, that is the first sign of light. My light does not demand that you do something grand. It only invites you to breathe in the cadence of peace. As your breath softens, the things that once terrified you lose their old power. You hear the wind in the leaves, the faint touch of water on the shore, and your heart understands that life is not only an urgent activity, but also in quiet moments full of meaning. You think you need to be strong to step into new ground. But I tell you that what you truly need is softness. Soft enough to feel, soft enough to learn, soft enough to let go of the old without condemning yourself. Morning light on the river does not try to prove anything, yet it transforms the whole scene. The water is the same water, the rocks, the same rocks, the trees, the same trees. But when the gentle light rests on them, everything seems washed from the fatigue of night. The door I open for you works the same way, not loud, not forceful, simply waiting for you to come close and see that there is a world softer, wider, lighter waiting for you. And as you step a little further, you will find that the new ground is not as foreign as you imagined. The breath in your chest will begin to match my breath, and you will know you have come to the right place. There is something you will soon notice when you stand long in this kind of light. It is not showy at all. It does not blaze to prove its power, does not glitter to attract attention, does not shout to draw a crowd. It is simply there, like warmth hovering over the water's surface. And in it, anything real becomes clear, not because the light forces anyone to look, but because in such gentleness, nothing has anywhere left to hide. What is false cannot survive soft light. It only persists in dimness or under light so harsh that all contours are blurred. But here, where light comes like dawn, what is true does not need to strive to appear. It simply emerges. The false is not condemned by me. It simply melts away, like night mist fading as the sun rises, not loud, not painful, just a natural unwinding. You once believed that when light came, you would have to prepare, to shrink, to cover your frail parts for fear they would be seen. But this light does not come to strip you for shame. It comes to free you from having to hide. What you have been hiding is not some monstrous sin, but a fear that if anyone saw you as you truly are, they would turn away. That fear has led you to layer on masks stronger than you are, happier than you are, more stable than you are. But as you stand in this light, you discover a wondrous paradox: to be free. You do not need to prove anything. You only need to come as you are. The light does not require you to be perfect. It simply invites you to drop what is not true. And what is true will remain beautiful enough, sufficient enough, bright enough in its own way. There is no voice of judgment in this light. Yet there is an honesty that cannot be avoided. What is not true will fall from you on its own, like dry leaves leaving a branch when the wind changes seasons. You do not need to pull them down. You only need to stop holding on. When the light touches the places you once hid, you will hear a whisper, "I know this. I am still here." Old wounds are no longer ugly places to conceal. They become soft lines in the grain of wood, traces of time, of endurance, of mercy. Anything true will not make you ashamed in my light. It will make you free. The false is what exhausts you, because it demands posture, control, a mask. The true is light, because it only needs to be present. You will remember those earlier days when you lived under a harsh stage light, where everyone had to stand correctly, smile at the right moment, swallow their tears in the right way. There, the light was so bright that no one saw anyone clearly. They only saw shapes, gestures, what each person tried to create. In that light, you were tired of trying to become a better version to please others, tired of covering the real scrapes and scratches. But in my light, you do not need to perform. I do not need you to be perfect. I need you to be true. And that truth, even fragile, even unfinished, carries a beauty that is unforced. You will see that what is fragile and true has its own strength. It draws not by noise, but by sincerity. Standing in the soft light, you will breathe more easily. Like someone removing armor after a long battle, you will feel your breath deeper, wider, not only in your lungs, but in your heart. Not because the battle has disappeared, but because you no longer have to fight yourself. When you no longer have to defend what is false, your energy is freed for what is true. There, you learn something no one can teach you with words. The true always stands in the light. The false only exists where light is lacking, or where the light is too glaring and distorted. But my light, gentle, quiet, spreading by itself, makes what is true become clear without effort. You do not have to shout to prove anything. You only have to remain in the light, and the truth within you will shine on its own. You once believed that as you approached this door, you would have to prepare a better version of yourself. You imagined that to step into the light you must be perfect, ready, tidy, and strong. You thought crossing that threshold was a ritual reserved for those who no longer tremble, who can keep smiling through trials and speak the right spiritual words at the right time. But I say to you gently and truly to come in. You do not need perfection. You need truth. If tears are on your face, let them be. If weariness folds at the corners of your eyes, it is all right. I do not close the door when you tremble. I only close it when you pretend. And you have been so weary with pretending, with hiding, with trying, with straining. So now, as you stand at the threshold, all I ask is this: come with your true face. You once pushed your tears down because you feared being seen as weak. You once forced a smile while your heart was breaking. You once feared that if anyone saw you as you truly are, awkward, confused, unfinished, they would turn away. But I say to you, let the tears fall if they wish. Do not wipe them too quickly. Do not apologize for crying. Tears do not disgrace you. They clear your vision. There are seasons when all you need to do is weep, so the heart can soften and the mask can slide away without a struggle. I do not require you to cross the door with a strong step. I require you to cross with a true one. For truth leads to freedom, while perfection leads only to exhaustion. In my light, you are invited to breathe, not perform. In new land, you do not have to impress, you only have to live. You ask me, but I am lacking. I am tired. I am not enough. I answer, it is because you are tired that you must come. It is because you are lacking that you need me. It is because you are not enough that you need the light. The door does not open for those who believe themselves strong. It opens for those who know they no longer have the strength to hold themselves up. Not because I love weakness, but because I love truth. When you stop trying to prove yourself, the weight on your shoulders drops like a coat that has been too heavy. You do not need to carry it across the threshold. All those layers of pretend strong, pretend, okay, pretend peace, each one too tight, too old, they no longer fit your soul. I do not tell you to tear them apart. I tell you to let go, and they will fall like leaves in their right season. Step into new land with your true face. Even if it is flushed from tears, it is far more beautiful than any perfect version you ever tried to build. When you allow yourself to breathe truly, you will feel light, not because every problem disappears, but because you no longer brace yourself to hold the pose. Light, like taking off tight shoes at the end of the day. When feet touch cool ground without decoration. Light, like sitting down, exhaling deeply, and knowing that I understand. No performance, no proof, no fear of what others think, only presence. I do not wait for you to bring the correct answer. I wait for you to bring a true heart. When your face is true, your smile will be true as well. No longer forced, no longer trapped in your throat. Your true smiles are rare, but each one is a miracle. This land needs such smiles, not dazzling, but warm to the bone. My child, I want you to step through this door not with the gait of a hero, but with the gait of the beloved. The beloved does not need to display, does not need to impress, does not need to prove worth. The beloved only needs to know they are welcomed, held, allowed to rest. Beyond this threshold is not a performance, it is a home. A home does not require perfection, it only requires presence. You may come with wet eyes, trembling hands, and an unfinished story. I will not close the door because of these things. In fact, they are proof that you are alive, still seeking, still longing for what is true. I do not ask you to be strong. I only invite you not to pretend. In my light, the true, even fragile, is beautiful, is enough. You will recognize this truth when you stand at the threshold. The door is already open, the light already spreading, the air already changed. But no one can step for you. I open the door by my power, but the step belongs to you. I call you by name. I stretch out my arms, but I do not pull. Do not drag. Do not push. Love does not operate by force. It moves by invitation, by freedom, by a space wide enough for your choice. I stand at the threshold, not inside, issuing orders, not beyond, waiting coldly. I stand right there, between light and shadow, with open hands like a gentle gatekeeper. And I say, you may come. You hear the invitation, but the invitation carries no pressure, only warmth. Your trembling is not fear of me, but the weight of the moment. There were times when you wished someone would walk in your place. There were days you said to me, if you want me in a new place, please drag me there. I'm weak. I'm afraid. I don't know how. But I love you too much to drag you like an inanimate object. If I pulled you, you would never learn the strength of walking. If I forced you, you would mistake the new land for a prison, not a realm of freedom. What I do is open the gate. What you need to do is step. You will feel a light but very real weight on your shoulders, not the weight of a burden pressing down, but the weight of a calling rising up. Responsibility here is not pressure, it is honor. That step, however small, belongs to you. And every time you lift your foot, you are testifying that you trust me more than you fear. I know there is something in you that both longs for and shrinks back. One part of you wants to run toward the light, but another part holds you back with old habits, with nameless fears. Those habits are not your enemy. They are simply old companions that have kept you company in the dark. You are familiar with them, and familiarity always has a pull. But on the other side of the door, I do not promise that you will never tremble again. I only promise that you will never tremble alone. I will walk beside you, but I will not place my feet in place of yours. That step is the sign of freedom, the declaration that you choose me. Not because you were compelled, but because your heart has recognized the worth of the light. When you stand on the threshold, your breathing will change. It will lengthen, deepen, like someone preparing to step down onto new ground after a long journey by boat. You might feel a slight looseness in your knees, a little tremor in your palms. Do not mistake that for weakness. It is the awakening of your soul as it understands that it is about to leave one season and enter another. Some people will stand before the door for a very long time, not because they lack courage, but because the moment is sacred. No one is rushing you. I do not count the seconds, but I stand there, with light resting on my shoulders and on yours, and I speak with an unhurried voice. When you are ready, step. The new ground will not come to you because I drag you across. It will come through that small but genuine step of your own. That step does not have to be elegant, it just has to be real. You may step a bit awkwardly, a bit slowly, a bit clumsily. I do not mock you. I watch your foot touch the new ground like a father watching his child walk alone for the first time, not perfectly, but infinitely precious. Your freedom in that moment honors me more than any song. No one steps in your place, not because you have been abandoned, but because you have been given dignity. You are not a puppet of fate. You are someone invited. And when you set your foot on the new land, you will find that the ground beneath you is not cold or alien. It is warm, solid, as if it has been waiting for you for a long time. There are moments when, as you stand at the threshold, fear rises like a wave from behind. It does not attack you from the front, but from the steps already taken. It is not the roar of an enemy lying in wait, but the echo in an empty cave you once walked through on long, hard days. You hear it and think it is a warning about the present, but in truth, it is only the residue of old seasons dissolving. Fear does not know that you have grown. It just repeats the familiar lines. What if you fail? What if you are abandoned? What if you are not enough? The echo in the cave is loud only because there is nothing else around it. But when you turn your face toward the light, you realize the real voice is not there. I do not rebuke you for trembling. I simply invite you to recognize where it comes from. Fear is not an enemy to be beaten. It is a memory to be looked at in a new light. So it will know it no longer has the right to steer. Years ago, fear did keep you inside narrow walls. And at that time, it had a reason. You did not know the way. You were not yet strong. You had not yet seen where I was in the darkness. Fear then was like a rough gatekeeper, standing outside the door shouting at you not to step out, because out there was cold, storm, misunderstanding. It did its job by keeping you in the room, because that room was where you were safe for a season. But that season has passed. Now, that same echo is no longer a true warning, but a habit. Like someone who used to live by the sea, still hearing the sound of waves in their head, even when they are deep inland. The fear inside you works like that. It does not live in the present. It lives in memory. I'm not asking you to drive it away. I'm asking you to listen to it with a renewed heart, so it can know you do not need it to lead anymore. When you remember my words, do not be afraid, for I am with you. You tend to think they were spoken only for fierce battles and stormy nights. But my child, that sentence is also spoken to this calm moment when light shimmers on the river, when your breath slows, when your heart opens. My presence is not only in the dramatic, but also in the quiet. You are afraid because you think you will be alone. And that fear is the echo of the days when you really did have to stand alone for too long. In those seasons, you did not see me. So, your memory concluded that if you step out tomorrow, you will be alone again. But I say to you that memory has expired. I never abandoned you in the dark. I simply stood so close that the darkness hid me from your sight. Now the light shines. You see how near I am. and the part of your soul that used to tremble will begin to learn that it no longer needs to curl up in fear. When fear rises, do not chase it like a thief. Recognize it as a traveler who lost its way. Speak to it with gentleness. I know where you come from. You are an old sound, not the present reality. You will feel a strange relief, not because you have won over fear by argument, but because you have stopped treating it as the master of the room. Fear is like your shadow on the wall. It looks big when the light is behind you, and it grows small when you stand in the light. So you do not need to wrestle with the shadow. You only need to turn back toward the source of light. The voices in your head that once shouted so loudly will become small, faint, then fade like mist. You do not need to scream. I am not afraid to prove you are brave. Your courage lies in this. You do not let fear decide the direction of your steps. There are days when you feel weak because you tremble, and you scold yourself. Why don't I believe enough? But I say to you, this trembling is not the sign of failure. It is the sign of a changing season. When winter yields, the ground does not crack open with thunder. It simply lets ice melt by warmth. When ice melts, water runs and the earth soaks it in, sometimes with a bit of shaking. The trembling does not come from danger. It comes from everything growing soft again. The fear in you is softening, melting, flowing away with the light. Do not judge yourself because you tremble. The trembling one is not the loser. The trembling one is often the one stepping out of what is old. I do not need you not to tremble. I need you not to turn back because you tremble. And that is freedom. Freedom in you will not come when fear disappears forever, but when you know how to walk while fear is still there. Freedom is not a land where there is no echo. Freedom is knowing the echo is not the real voice. When you hear that echo, you no longer startle like before, because you know my voice is different. My voice does not come with threats, but with warmth. I am here. I do not ask you to be strong. I ask you to hold on to me. Every breath you take in this light is one more response I choose to trust. And with each response, the echo in the cave drifts farther and farther away, until it becomes only the memory of a journey already past, not a prophecy over the road ahead. You take another step, and you see that light does not drive out darkness by roaring. It simply expands. Darkness recedes not because it trembles, but because it no longer has space. You will experience this inside your own heart. Fears that once filled an entire room will now occupy only a corner. Like an old chair no one sits on anymore. You can look at it without shaking. You only need to smile. As someone remembering a story that has already passed, fear becomes a trace, not a destiny. And in that step, you feel light not because you have become invincible, but because you now know that nothing can stop you when I am with you. There is something you will only understand when you begin to move. Courage does not come before the step. It comes when your foot touches new ground. For many years you waited for some strong feeling to appear in your chest before daring to act. You told yourself that once you were brave enough, then you would cross. But the truth of the spiritual realm follows a different order when the leading foot lands. Courage rises. You will feel it like a mysterious movement spreading from your chest down into your legs. Before stepping, breath is short, heart beats fast, knees tremble. But in the instant your foot meets the ground on the other side, a gentle strength lifts you, as if the earth itself supported you before you could fall. I once spoke to a man called Joshua. Be strong and courageous, for I, the Lord your God, will be with you wherever you go. Courage is not something you must collect enough of before moving. It is a gift that arrives on the way. Your confusion before stepping is not failure. It is proof that you are standing in a true threshold. If you were entirely calm, if nothing inside you shook, perhaps that threshold would not be the entrance into a new season. That slight trembling, that shifting tension between two places, is the sign of something holy touching you. Before every great transition, your soul feels like a rope pulled between two lands, one part longing for what was, one part reaching for what will be. But only when the leading foot moves do you discover that lack of courage exists only before the step. It does not exist within the step. When you step, your body understands it will not fall into emptiness. There is solid ground waiting. The strange thing is that this ground may have been there all along, but only feet can know it is real. With your feet, you confirm my word is truer than the echoes of fear. The moment you place your foot down, you will feel something you could not feel before the sky above seems wider. Not because clouds have vanished, but because your eyes see differently. The wind is the same wind, yet it becomes the wind of freedom. The earth is still earth, yet it becomes the land of promise. You will see that courage does not make you insensitive to fear. It walks with fear, without allowing fear to lead. From that moment on, you will understand a secret: the courageous are not those who do not tremble. The courageous are those who place their feet down while trembling. Courage does not make your heart iron, it makes your heart shine. Before stepping, you may hear many familiar voices. You are not enough. You will fall. You will lose. Those voices do not speak of today. They speak of yesterday, old failures, old wounds, old lessons. But when your foot touches new ground, those voices suddenly lose their footing, not because they disappear entirely, but because they no longer have authority to stop you. Every step becomes an answer to your own fears. I thought I would fall, but I did not. I thought the ground would sink, but it held. When real experience arrives, it silences fear. Courage becomes the new sound, not loud, not boastful, but deep and steady, like a new heartbeat. You do not need to shout that you are brave. Your footsteps testify. I walk with you in that moment, not standing far away to watch you succeed, but close enough that my hand could rest on your shoulder if you waver. You will not feel me as a command, but as breath near your ear. As a whisper, do not fear. I am here. I do not say, be strong before you step. I say, step, and you will grow strong as you go. Some strengths only appear on the road, not in the preparation room. Some miracles only open when feet land on the ground I have chosen. So do not wait until your heart stops trembling. It never will beforehand. Step first, and your heart will grow strong. Step first, and you will discover that new ground does not swallow you, but carries you. Step first, and courage will come like fresh breath to your soul. When you come near the door, you will realize that not everything you carry can pass through. Not because I forbid you to bring them, but because they are too heavy, and most of them are not true. They are like old bags you have carried for many seasons, once useful, once containing things you needed, once a place where you stored fragments of memory. But now, as you stand before a narrow passage, you feel the weight pressing your shoulders, pulling your back, slowing your feet. You try to walk with them, but the door only opens wide enough for you, not for the swollen backpack. There will be a moment of hesitation. You look at them, remember them, feel both comfort and pain attached. I do not say, leave them with a command. I gently invite you to set them down so you can be lighter. For the door is not an escape for burdens, but an entrance for the soul. Some things you have kept not because they are beautiful, but because they are familiar. You have forgotten what your life feels like without them. Some bags are filled with old fears. Some with the image of yourself that you created stronger than true, harder than true, more hidden than true. One bag is wrapped by the story, I am not enough. Another is tied with the old thread, if I stop striving, I will be left behind. Once, those things helped you endure, like temporary coats to keep you warm during the long season of night. But those coats have outlived their season, and now they are heavy. When you press them to your chest, you feel constricted. When you put them down, you will feel breath. The regret is real. You mourn what was familiar, but lightness is grace. I see your eyes when you look at the old bags on the floor. In the first beam of morning, you do not despise them. You do not throw them away. You do not hate them. You simply set them down. In that movement, there is no violence, only release. False things are not defeated by the power of will. They dissolve in the warmth of truth. Some memories are still inside. Some names are still written on old labels. Some moments once hurt you, but as they lie under the light, you see them differently. They no longer belong to you now. They belong to a season that has been completed. You do not need to erase the past. You only need to step out of it. Some things will remain beside the doorway like stones someone once picked up and carried home. And then one day, when grown, laid back at the riverbank without bitterness, you may feel a slight sting when you see the familiar things remaining behind. Some carry beautiful memories. Some carry the scent of pain. Some are simply things. But everything, whether beautiful or painful, has completed its role. They kept you through the older seasons. I do not despise them. I only know that they no longer fit the size of your soul in the new season. You will be surprised to discover that the most beautiful thing is not what you carry forward, but what you leave behind. There are days when the most precious thing you take through the gate is simply a pair of empty hands. This is the paradox of light when you carry nothing. You are enough. When you put down, you have room to receive. When you release, you are lifted. The longing is still there, but it does not choke the chest, because right beside it, you can feel lightness spreading from your shoulders down to the soles of your feet. I do not rush you to put down everything in one breath. I know some things must be untied layer by layer, like unwrapping old bandages from a healed wound. There will be moments when you stand at the threshold, holding something familiar in your hand, asking, if I let this go, will I lose myself? I answer gently, no. You are not the burdens you once carried. You are the one I love. And the one I love does not need to carry the past as proof. One day, you will unzip the bag and take things out. One by one, some things not true. Some things expired. Some things only old words. You put them down not because they have no value, but because they have finished their work. Then you stand upright, lighter, and in that lightness, you know you are preparing for the next step, not by strength, but by release. At the threshold, something happens that you cannot resist. Whatever is not truly you will fall away. No one rips them off, they simply fall. Like dry leaves when the wind changes season. The reputation you once held tight so that others would think you stronger than you really were. The covering you wrapped around your heart so no one would see you trembling. The polished, I'm fine shell you wore to avoid being seen as weak. All of it stops at this border. not because I humiliate you, but because my doorway only welcomes the true face. What is glittering, polished, decorated is too slick to hold warmth. No one needs such things in the light, for the light does not ask for performance, only presence. You will feel a strange second, your soul bare, as if stepping out of a river, hair still wet, eyes still bright, nothing to prove. But in that moment you do not shrink, you rise. Honor at the gate does not come from perfection, but from truth. The mask is not torn off, it simply becomes useless. When the light touches, it does not scorch, it warms. This light does not scrutinize, it heals. It does not search for faults, it searches for the person. You will feel as if the morning sun touches your skin after a cold night. No one needs to act out the warmth, only stand. 3 things will fall before you step through: reputation built on others' eyes, covering to escape pain, a strong facade you thought was required to be respected. They fall not because they are bad, but because they are expired. A healthy person does not need armor while standing in the warmth of morning. You are stronger when lighter. You are more beautiful when true. You are more respected when you do not need to appear. What was once protection in the night becomes heavy and hot under the sun. When you let go, you discover that being uncovered does not mean being exposed. Uncovered means being able to breathe. I do not love your mask. I love your face, even with the trace of tears, even with the shadows from long nights, even when you are not yet confident to look into the mirror. In my light, your true face is not compared, it is welcomed. Others may have thought you were strong because you did not cry. In the new land, they will think you are strong because you are willing to be real. Honor here is not applause, but a deep breath that is no longer held. Honor here is not the outside gaze, but inner peace. When you step through, the sunlight will rest on your skin, not on the armor. You will feel the wind touching you so lightly that it cannot be described. You will know the new season does not require performance, but presence. No one fights for attention here, no one competes. Each person walks through the gate with their own face, unadjusted, unpainted, and in that lack of covering, you will feel a dignity deeper than any achievement. The mask may make people admire you, but the true face makes people trust you. And I do not invite you in to be admired. I invite you in to be known and loved. There is a strange moment on this journey you think you are losing, but in truth, you are gaining. When things fall from your hands, you may feel empty, as if a part of you has been taken. But when you place your hand on your chest and breathe deeply, you will know that what fell was not precious. It was chains made of memories, fear, and others' expectations. You do not lose courage, you lose the fear that kept you bowed. You do not lose strength, you lose the armor that exhausted you. You do not lose dignity, you lose the strain to appear worthy. At the threshold there is no robbery, only release. And release may bring tears, not because it hurts, but because it relieves. I have spoken through the prophet Isaiah. I will give you a crown instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. Do you see? This is the kingdom's paradox. What falls is not the precious, but the ashes. What you receive is not what you must fight for, but a crown. But to wear the crown, the veil of mourning must be removed. No one is forced, only the willing. When you let go of the old cords, you will hear a small sound, delicate, like chains touching the ground. There is no crash of metal, only a sigh. Shackles never fall with thunder, They fall like breath, and in that breath, you know you are free. You may bend down, pick up one of the old fragments, hold it under the new light, and whisper, "How long have I carried this?" You do not despise the past. You are simply astonished at its weight. When the chain was on your neck, you did not know it was heavy. When it falls, you understand why you were tired. What you release is not the memory. Memories are not heavy. The weight was the fear that wrapped around the memories. The lie you must hold. You must prove. You must strain. Those words fall. The memories stay. The memories become light. For the light renames them into lessons, into grace, into stories you will tell to heal others. Freedom will not come with fireworks, but with spreading peace. As chains fall, they raise no dust, they raise breath. You will feel a tear fall, not because of pain, but because of gratitude. One day you will look back and see not loss but exchange. You gave away fear and received freedom. You gave away hardness and received gentleness. You gave away chains and received a garment of praise. In the eyes of people, nothing may look different, but in the soul, a door has just closed behind you and you are no longer locked in a small room. You stand outside, with sunlight on your skin, and your heart knows nothing binds you anymore. Here, you do not lose yourself. You only lose the thoughts that once imprisoned you. And when they fall away, you hear the true voice, my voice. I never take away what is precious in you. I only remove what keeps you from seeing how precious you already are. You do not lose identity. Your identity is returned. You do not lose dignity. Your dignity is brought into the sunlight. I do not ask you to release what is beautiful. I ask you to release what is false. When the mask falls, your true face appears, and that is what I have loved from the beginning. You enter lightly, not because you have lost much, but because you have been given back to yourself. Some believe that when I draw near, it is to examine, to strip bare, to confront every scar. They tremble because they imagine me as a judge seated high in a public square, while they stand under harsh sunlight, head bowed, waiting for a verdict. But I say to you, my light is not the square of judgment. It is a quiet room, a shut door, soft curtains, no audience watching, no noise from a crowd hungry to see someone condemned to satisfy their inner hunger. My light is a light that knows compassion. It does not stab the eyes, it touches the skin. It is not cold, it is warm. When you enter, you are not interrogated. You are bandaged. A court wants to know where you were wrong, but a hospital wants to know where you are hurting. Those who think I am a court will come to me with fear, fear of being exposed, fear of being despised, fear of being rejected. But those who know I am a hospital come with weariness, weary from bracing, weary from wearing armor, weary from pretending to be fine. When you lie down on that soft bed, I do not ask why you are weak. I only ask where you hurt. You do not need to justify yourself. You only need to breathe. In that quiet room, there are no eyes judging you. Only one sitting beside you with bandages and oil. You do not need to perform. You only need to be real. For many years you lived as though standing in the square. You believed everyone was watching, waiting for you to stumble, counting your faults. You learned how to hold your posture, hold your words, hold your face. You learned how to hide the trembling in your chest. You believed that exposure was the enemy. But when my light touches you, you will know it does not make you squint, it makes your eyes soften. That light does not say, Stand straight. Present yourself. It says, rest. I am here. In that room, you will hear the wind outside the door without fearing the storm. Here, no one needs to shout to prove they are right. Here, silence is medicine. There are old wounds that will never heal in the square. They need a quiet room, a closed door, gentle light. They need a tender hand, not a shouting voice. When I touch the torn places, you do not feel pain. You feel warmth. Because what I do is not cutting it, is mending. You once believed you must hide those places out of shame. You thought that if I saw them, I would turn away. But I have seen them long ago, and I stayed. My light does not expose ugliness. My light exposes hope. When you breathe in the quiet room, you know that what was torn is not abandoned, but stitched together with the thread of grace. There will be days when you only lie still, doing nothing, proving nothing, not praying loudly, not standing strong. You lie there with wet eyes and a tired heart. I am not disappointed. I do not demand that you be strong. I come to be strong for you. I do not need you to stand before I heal. I heal so you can stand. In that quiet room, you will feel something gentle. I do not ask why the injury happened. I do not ask why you did not heal yourself. I ask only this: do you want to be healed? No pressure, no demand, no price except willingness to open your heart. When you nod, the oil will flow. Outside in the square, the noise makes you brace yourself. In the quiet room, breath makes you release. I do not need long explanations. One tear is enough for me to understand. I do not need a report of your past. I was there. I do not need you to list every mistake. I saw them. You feared that if I saw everything, I would walk out of the room. But I saw everything before you walked in. I had already chosen to stay. When the door closes gently, you hear quiet. Quiet is not emptiness, it is presence. You are not alone. Your soul knows this deeper than any reasoning. In the quiet room, wounds are no longer called by names of shame, but by names of hope. Old wounds become the places where I lay my hand. The places you avoided, I approach. The places you hid, I gently open, not to hurt, but to heal, not to push, but to invite, not to judge, but to mend. When you close your eyes, your breath slows. The sun does not shine on the square, but through a small window, laying gold light across the blanket. You do not need to fear the light. This light does not require you to stand before a crowd. It invites you to sit beside me. In the past, you believed holiness meant having no scars, but I teach you that holiness is letting me touch the scars. When I touch, there is no shame. When I touch, there is no accusation. When I touch, you know that love is deeper than flaw. My quiet room is where you learn this again. You do not need to be perfect to be loved. You are loved so that you may become whole. There is no urgent knocking. No one rushes you out. You may stay as long as you need. Healing never comes through haste. It comes through presence. In that light, you know that my love is not a courtroom. It is a refuge, not a light that searches for fault, but a light that searches for the person. When you walk out of the quiet room, you do not feel exposed. You feel held. You do not carry an indictment. You carry white bandages and the scent of oil, and that very scent will tell others you have been with me. They will not see display. They will see peace. Peace is not a shout. Peace is the quiet glow on a face that has stopped being afraid. I draw near not to open your wounds before the world, but to lay my hand on them. You have grown used to thinking that the hurting places must be hidden, because if anyone sees, they will turn away. But I do not come as a curious passerby. I come as one who knows exactly where it stings, where it bled, where you once stitched yourself in haste out of fear. I do not rip the bandage off your skin. I touch gently, and the bandage loosens by itself. In that place, there are no loud cries. There are only breaths, only tears that fall without words. I understand those silent tears better than long prayers. You expected me to ask, "Why are you like this? Who hurt you?" But I do not ask that. That question heals nothing. I ask, where does it hurt most? And when you lift your hand toward the place you fear the most, I will place my hand there. That hand is not cold, not distant. It is heavy enough that you know I am near, yet light enough that you do not flinch. I once did this with the sick who met me along the roads, the leper, the lame, the blind. None were exposed before the crowd. I did not stand above them and point down. I bent low. I touched. I touched not to expose but to revive. There are places within you that no one knows, no one sees. You have shut them like old rooms. Lock the doors. Let the dust settle. You have thought I only enjoy the bright, spotless spaces, the ones you can tidy up to welcome guests. But I do not stand in the foyer. I walk into the inner rooms. I am not bothered by dampness, nor by the cracks in the walls. I lay my hand upon the wall like a skilled builder testing the foundation. I do not say, "This is terrible." I say, "Here I will rebuild." And when I touch, the cracked wall does not collapse. It steadies. The wound does not spread. It closes. You feel warmth travel along your ribs, like a gentle stream running through dry, cracked ground. You once feared that if I truly saw you, I would be disappointed. But I saw you before you even knew me. I was there on the long nights when you held your pillow and dared not cry out. I heard the trembling of your heart even when your lips spoke no word. I do not rebuke you for being weak. I hold you because you are weak. I do not require you to stand firm before I come. I come so that you can stand. So, when you tremble in my arms, that is not failure. That is healing. Healing is not when you no longer feel pain. Healing is when you are no longer alone in the pain. I place my hand on that cracked place, and you feel something very strange. The wound is no longer afraid of the light. Light does not accuse. Light bandages. You no longer hold your breath to hide. You exhale. You breathe deep. You breathe like someone pulled up from the water after almost drowning. I hear that breath, and I rejoice, not because of achievement, but because of life. I am not looking for a report. I am looking for signs of life. When you breathe in my arms, it is the proof that you are still here and that I have never left. There are places in your soul that need time. I do not rush. I do not tell you to be strong all at once. I do not tear the seams. I gently loosen each knot, each thread, each layer of skin that is tightened from fear. I pour oil on it. Oil does not sting. Oil softens. Oil smooths. And while I do this, you have nothing to do except remain. Remain under my hand. Do not run. Do not try to heal yourself. Do not pretend. Just stay. And in that staying, a miracle unfolds. The wound realizes It has not been forgotten. It is seen. It is loved. One day, when you step out of the quiet room, the mark will be different. No longer a raw, red wound, but a closed place. Scarred, yet no longer painful. A scar is not shame. A scar is evidence that you have lived, have passed through, have been preserved. When others see that scar, they will not see failure. They will see grace. They will understand, not that you are stronger than they are, but that you have been touched by a hand no one sees, yet everyone feels. And that gentleness itself is power, not power that comes from shouting, but from peace. Some people think truth arrives like thunder, like a storm shaking the sky, like a flame tearing open the night. But child, when truth comes from me, it does not shout. It steps in quietly, like a breeze opening a door. It does not need a show. It does not need a crowd. It needs only one listening heart. You will feel it before you can explain it. Something just touched your soul, not big, but deep. Not loud, but unstoppable. My truth does not come to draw attention. It comes to set free. Chains do not break because of heavy hammers. They break because of one whisper from me in the deepest place: you are free. And when that sentence echoes out, the chains fall. Not loudly. They just fall. Through many seasons you have waited for a great upheaval to know that I am moving. You thought it must be the storm. You thought it must be doors flying open with a crash. But you have not yet realized that I govern the universe with breath as much as with thunder. I speak to the wind, and its path changes. I speak to the sea, and it grows calm. I speak to your spirit, and it softens. My whisper is not weak, because it carries an authority that does not come from force, but from source. I do not need to shout for chains to fall. I only need to touch. And when I touch, what was hard as stone becomes soft, like earth after rain. My truth comes like light slipping through a crack in the door. It does not drive out darkness with a battle. It simply appears. And darkness has no place left. You do not need to strain to push away the old things. You only need to open the door to the light. You will hear a very small sentence in your heart, one you cannot ignore. It is time. That sentence is not a demand, not a command, not a threat. It is an invitation carrying the weight of eternity. When you hear it, you will know that nothing can stop what I have ordained. No chain strong enough, no fear big enough, no memory deep enough to hold you. One whisper from me is stronger than 1,000 screaming fears. In that stillness, you will sense something language can scarcely describe. The ground beneath your soul shifts, not shaking violently, but quietly tilting toward the light. Choices you once strained to hold on to become lighter, because truth opens the way. You are not dragged, you are led. Truth does not force your steps, it makes you want to move. You see what is right without needing to argue yourself into it. You simply know. In a single moment, this is the time. And your feet move naturally, without tension. Chains fall not by effort, but by recognition. You no longer belong to the darkness. You belong to me. When truth whispers, every false thing steps back. There is no need for argument, no need for proof, no need to scream to win. My truth does not compete with noise, it renders noise meaningless. Like a candle in a dark room, it is not large, but everyone sees it. Like a drop of water falling into a still basin, the ripples reach farther than you expect. There will be people around you who look at you and cannot explain why they feel lighter just because you are there. They will think you have changed. but they will not be able to point to what exactly. They do not see the battle within, they see the peace without. And that peace is the echo of a whisper that broke chains. Never underestimate what I say softly. I do not need to shout for things to happen. When I speak in the quiet, heaven and earth still bow. The mountains do not leap, but they understand. The seas do not roar, but they listen. And in your soul, something very deep is set right. You stand straighter not because you tried, but because you were touched. No one pushes you, yet you feel a wind at your back. No one points, yet you see the path. No one urges you, yet you do not wish to delay. That is the authority of truth light, yet irresistible, a whisper, yet impossible to ignore. There are moments when you stand still, thinking you are only in the same familiar room with four walls. The same lamp, the same air you breathe every day, but then something shifts very gently. Not the furniture, not the sounds, the depth. The space around you seems to widen without any physical door moving on its hinges. You are standing in the same place, yet your soul knows there is another room inside this room. Not imagination, not psychology, not a passing swell of emotion. It is a new, weighty reality, soft like a fresh layer of air laid upon the old. For a brief moment your eyes open wide, not from fear, but from awe. I am truly here. This new space does not require you to move. It only requires you to recognize. Many people believe that only when you go to the mountain, to the sea, to a sacred place, can you encounter me. But, my child, when I stood among the disciples in a room with the doors shut, nothing opened, yet the whole atmosphere changed. Not because the walls vanished, but because I entered. John 2:019 says the doors were locked, yet I stood among them. They were not imagining. They were not dreaming. They were not convincing themselves. Reality arrived without noise. In the same way, when you stand in the small familiar place, I step into your space, and a second room opens. That room has no address on any map, yet it is more real than coordinates. You sense that it is not outside you, but around you, yet also within you. Not two separate places, but two layers of the same presence. You can touch the table, the wall, the cool glass in your hand, but all of these things suddenly seem to rest in a vast sea of stillness. That space does not make the physical world disappear, it embraces it. You will see that what I am doing is not pulling you out of reality, but drawing you deeper into reality. The sounds in the house do not vanish, but they diminish not because they are quieter, but because my presence is louder. I do not push the world aside, I simply stand in the center, and everything finds its place. When I stand in a space, nothing is crowded, yet everything bows. You will feel it in an unusual way. Your breath becomes slow and deep, as though your lungs have opened a new chamber. Your mind stops twisting, not because you forced it, but because it no longer has reason to twist. Thoughts are still there, but they drift like clouds instead of pressing on your chest. Fear and worry do not disappear entirely, they simply lose priority. In that space, you do not need to decide quickly, or answer, or prove anything. You simply stand. That standing is trust. You are not resisting anything. You are simply with me. I am not far. I am not abstract. I am so near that you can whisper and know I hear. More real than the physical room is the air you cannot see but you feel. It is not dew or draft. It is peace thickening. Those who stand near you will sense it without knowing its name. They will say, "I don't know why, but I feel calm around you." They are not speaking about you. They are speaking about my space around you. When I am in your midst, no trumpet is needed. No religious symbols. No smoke. Only this presence as heavy and gentle as a blanket laid over the soul. You are astonished not because of the mysterious, but because the familiar becomes holy. You may have thought that to meet me truly, you must travel far, change locations. But I say, this space is here. I stand in the living room, among the traffic outside, among the warm smell of coffee. You can hear the clock, yet time softens. The hands still move, but they do not push. In this space, an hour is not hurried, and a day is not heavy. You do not chase minutes. You are not driven by plans. You walk in my rhythm slow, steady, deep. You will see that the sacred is not separated from life. It saturates life. Here is the great truth. The invisible realm is not outside the visible. It is within it. This world is real on one level, and I am real on a deeper level. When you recognize the deeper level, the surface does not vanish, it just ceases to rule. When I stand in the room, objects stay where they are, but their meaning changes. A chair is not only a chair, it is a place of rest. A window is not only a window, it is where light enters. Breath is not just breath, it is proof that I am with you. You do not need to strain to hold that space, you need only to notice. My presence is not maintained by your effort, but by awareness. When you forget, I do not disappear. When you remember, you see. That space is larger than the room, yet fits perfectly within the room. This is the miracle you never imagined. The spiritual reality is not fragile, it is more solid than the brick walls around you. Walls can crack, doors can lock, lights can go out, but my room of peace needs no lock, no lamps, no walls. It is presence. One day, you will sit in a chair and know this space is real, more real than wood, more real than walls, more real than gravity. For gravity holds the body, but I hold the soul. You will become solemn, not from fear, but from reverence. Your eyes will open wide, not in quick amazement, but in a deep awareness that you are no longer alone. This does not make you excited, it makes you calm. And in that calm, you are stronger than any storm. Many believe that when I call you into my space, it is to escape the world, to flee turmoil, to avoid responsibility. They do not understand. I do not invite you in to hide, but to appear. I do not build walls so you can avoid the wind. I lay a foundation so you can stand in the wind. My presence is not a little refuge at the edge. It is a center that holds amid the whirl. You do not disappear when you enter with me. You become visible. You do not dim. You shine. I do not remove you from the battlefield. I place peace in your body where the enemy cannot reach. When I stand with you, you are not the one who hides. You are the one who appears. In past seasons, you lived through things that made you think safety meant withdrawal. You learned to shrink, to close the door, to stay silent so you would not be seen. You thought that was wisdom. But now I say to you in the new land, safety is not hiding, safety is presence in me. Those who hide tremble, those who are present stand. When you stand in me, you stand in the very place others fear. not because you are reckless, but because you know where you stand. That place is not built by willpower but by presence. You do not strain. You do not intimidate. You simply remain in me, and everything else adjusts. I once stood among the fearful in a locked room. The doors were shut, yet I was present, and fear retreated. No one ran. No one hid. They did not scatter in 4 directions. They gathered toward the center. My presence is the center. When the center is right, everything else revolves. You do not need to run from the storms of life. You only need to stand in the right place. Stand in the midst does not mean you take all the wind. It means you stand where I stand. In that place, you have a peace that those who hide will never know. Peace is not the absence of problems. Peace is having me in the problem. You have often asked, why am I here? Why am I not allowed to leave? I answer, because you are placed here to shine. I do not move you away from darkness. I place light inside darkness. You are not the one who runs to safety, but the one who carries safety where others tremble. Not to prove anything, but to be present. A lamp does not avoid the corner, it shines in the corner. The timid think darkness will swallow them. Those who know me understand darkness only needs light. You do not need to be loud, only present. For your very presence with me is the declaration that darkness does not rule. The strange thing is this: only when you stop hiding do you truly become safe. A person who hides must always look around, predict danger, stay on guard. You have lived that way long enough for vigilance to become a habit of your very skin. But when I stand with you, you see that not every danger needs to be avoided. Many things only need not be feared. You are not reckless, you are steady. You are not careless, you are clear. The threshold of the new land does not require you to be a hero. It requires you to be honest with yourself before me. When you stand, it is not your feet that carry the weight, but my foundation beneath you. My presence is the ground. The enemy wants you to believe that if you do not hide, you will be devoured. But I tell you this: the enemy fears not the hider, but the one who stands. The one who hides is no threat to him, for they do not shine. The one who stands is dangerous, because they carry my presence. I do not call you outward by force, but by peace. You do not need to fight. You only need to stand. I will fight the battles you cannot see. There are arrows that fly and you are unaware, because they were stopped in flight. You think you have not been attacked. In truth, you have been protected. When you stand in me, the storm does not disappear. It simply loses the right to rule your heart. People will look at you and ask, why are you not shaking? Why are you not in chaos like the rest of us? You will not need to lecture. Only be there. Your presence becomes testimony. Your presence becomes a map. Your presence declares to others that there is a deeper ground beneath the earth, a stronger center than any storm. I do not make you invisible. I place you where others can look and be steadied. Your presence is not pride, but humble weight. I do not build you a bunker. I give you a place to stand. This place is not based on circumstances, but on me. Though winds shift, you do not. Though waves rise, you do not sink. Though bad news comes, you do not panic. Not because you are strong, but because you are in me. This is your glory, not the showy kind, but the kind with gravity. Those who carry gravity do not need to shout. They only need to stand. And everything else must yield. You will notice something remarkable when you step into my space. You do not become a loud voice. You become a sign. not because you preach, but because you are present. Those who pass by may not know why, yet they will feel a light, warmth move through the air, the way a winter street softens when sunlight passes over it. You do not need banners, nor lofty words. You only need to be. My glory does not perform. It permeates like a fragrance on a coat that makes people pause without knowing why. In that quiet, you become a reminder to the world that light still exists, peace still exists, and hope is not dead. As you walk through the streets, people will not lift their eyes because you shine like a stage star. They will lift their eyes because they feel something in their chest they cannot name. Someone might think, near this person, my heart feels lighter. They do not know that it is not your energy, but my breath in you. You do not need to make an impression. You only need to walk slowly. Breathe. Smile truly. In every smile, not the yeast of cheerfulness, but the yeast of deep peace. Peace does not make noise, yet it changes the atmosphere. People will call it kindness, warmth, gentleness, but you will know it is me walking with you. Some will draw near, not because they know you, but because they need rest. They do not need sermons, nor advice. They need a presence that is not in a hurry. When you sit in a cafe, with a warm cup in hand, unhurried in your heart, uncompetitive in your chest, there you become a compass for the lost, not through philosophy, but through steadiness. You do not try to help anyone, yet someone will want to stay close, not because you know much, but because you know me. People will not first seek knowledge from you, they will seek breath. Breath does not preach, but it heals. In the crowded street, I do not make you the odd one out. I make you whole. Many rush with frantic eyes and gasping breath, living as though everything is urgent. You do not. You walk with another rhythm, not sluggish, not hurried, but as one who knows they are in the right place at the right time. That rhythm itself is a sign. That rhythm says time does not rule you, I rule time. When others see, they do not know why they feel calm, but they will remember you, not because you are impressive, but because you do not compete. A peaceful person stands out among the weary crowd. There will be moments when you think a sign must be a loud miracle. But I tell you, the greatest sign is peace in the midst of chaos. The storm may howl outside the street, but wind does not howl in your chest. People will ask, how are you not afraid? You will not answer with strategy or formula, you will answer with life. Life speaks louder than words. You will invite them into my space, not with preaching, but with an empty chair at the table, with a warm cup, with eyes that see, and with good silence. People are not changed by pressure, they are changed by rest. When I make you a sign, you do not lose yourself. You become yourself more deeply. No one needs to bow to you, they only need to breathe beside you. Someone may never know why they feel lighter standing next to you in a bus queue. Someone will find their heart soften when you say a simple sentence, it's all right. Not because the sentence is strong, but because its source is me. I do not make you the center of a stage. I make you a small lamp in a house not flashy, yet impossible to ignore. That light is the sign. My glory in you is not thunder, but warmth. Warmth does not argue, does not boast, does not need recognition. It only touches, and when it touches, hearts soften. You are not their teacher from a podium, you are their companion. You do not knock loudly, you simply are there. and doors open. This is how I work through you, not loud, but true, not hurried, but sure, not pushing, but leading. And it is this way that makes you a sign in a world searching for a place to hold on to in the storm. The light in you is not a beautiful idea, not a tidy philosophy, not a slogan you repeat to prove faith. That light is life. It moves. It breathes. It has rhythm. When you walk into darkness, darkness cannot stay as thick as it was, not because you are loud, but because life cannot be hidden. A small lamp makes an entire room different, not by force, but by nature. You do not bring theory into the lives of others, you bring life. Life softens what has gone dry, dissolves the fine dust of exhaustion, warms the air like a nearby breath. No one can deny life. People may argue theory, but they cannot argue with warmth. When you walk into a dark place, you do not carry a notebook of lessons. You carry my heartbeat in your chest. It is not you trying to live well, but I live in you. It is not you thinking positively, but my life flows through you. This is what you will see in the days ahead. Light does not stop at you. It passes through. Like water flowing through a channel, you are only the riverbed. Life is not a burden, it is a current. You do not need to light yourself, you only need not to cover. The light I have placed within you does not wait for perfect conditions. It shines in rain, in night, in dust, at the bus stop, in weary hours of work, not when you feel strong, but precisely when you feel thin. That light becomes more visible. There will be moments when you ask yourself, is what I give enough? I answer, not enough by your measure, but enough by mine. A simple word, a small gesture, an unjudging look. These are seeds of life. You do not have to save anyone. The life within you will gently lift a soul. You will see this. People do not come to you asking for formulas. They come because they see a source. They do not ask you for philosophy. They feel peace. When you walk into a room, the air changes. Not because you are great, but because you carry my breath. One breath is enough to break the thick darkness of fear. It is not you who work miracles. Miracles seep through you. You are not the source of light. You are a lamp standing in the right place. You do not need to glitter. You only need to be real. Real is beautiful. Real is strong. Real is bright. My light does not demand display. It touches without making others shrink. It invites without forcing. It warms without burning. That is life. People may talk about religion in arguments, but when they encounter life, they fall silent. Not because of reason, but because their hearts remember what they lost. They were born to live in the light. Light is not far. Light is as near as a breath, and you carry that breath. You will see people's eyes become brighter just because you look at them with life. Some will cry without knowing why. Some will laugh because something feels light. Not because you did, but because life in you did. There will be brief meetings on the street, in elevators, over a quick meal, no preaching, no explanations, but they will leave with lighter hearts. They may remember your face without remembering your name. It does not matter. They do not remember you. They remember the light. Light is a sign. Light is a calling. Light is life. Some will come near you with no obvious reason. They did not plan, did not search, did not know why they stopped before you in the rushing crowd. They only felt something in the air, a softness, a peace like fragrance passing on the wind. Peace has no color. no sound, no words, but it spreads, not in straight lines, but through presence. A fragrance does not need advertising, it only needs to be there. People will recognize it without knowing how. They do not touch theory, they touch peace. Peace is not loud, but it is strong. It does not walk ahead like a leader. It walks behind like warmth from a fireside drifting into every corner. When you sit in a small cafe, drinking a warm cup, no one knows your soul is calm, but someone at the next table will breathe more easily without knowing why. A mother worried for her sick child will feel the afternoon become lighter. A man carrying heavy work will look out the window and suddenly notice the sky is not so dark. They do not know that in that room is someone who walks with me. They only know they feel something that did not come from themselves. Some will speak with you only a little, just a few sentences, just sometimes. But they will leave thinking this person is not in a rush. This person is not afraid. When I meet them, I feel lighter. Not because you said something wise, not because you have answers. You only know how to be present. Peace does not persuade by argument, it proves itself by breath. One peaceful breath is enough to change another's heartbeat. People are used to the noise outside and the noise inside. But when they stand near you, they touch a space without noise. That space is not empty, it is full of life. It does not need grand religion, does not need slogans. Peace does not show off. It is like the scent of cloth dried in the sun, like the smell of wet leaves after rain, like the aroma of old wood in an old house when you step inside. You pause, not because of a sign, but because the soul recognizes something familiar. Peace is not foreign to humanity, it is the homeland they forgot. When they meet you, they touch that homeland again, not a geographical homeland, but a spiritual one. They cannot name it. They only know that this place feels right. I do not make you a saint on stage. I make you a space where others can rest. The weary will look for a chair, the thirsty for water, the frightened for a hand. When they look for you, it is not because you are the solution, but because you are an open door. I am with you. Therefore, whoever comes close will touch peace. Peace is not cheap, not shallow, not decoration. It is deep, quiet, weighty. Some, when they meet you, will not speak much, but their hearts will sink down from heights. The tightness in the chest loosens. They breathe. They do not know why, but they breathe. There are moments when you say nothing, yet a whole conversation has happened. When your eyes look at someone without judging, without comparing, without measuring their worth, their heart rests. Not words, but gaze. Not theory, but truth. Not religion, but life. In a world where everyone tries to prove themselves right, you do not need to. You only need to be. Peace is not an argument. It is a reality. Others cannot debate with you. Because you do not debate, they may argue with ideas, but they cannot argue with warmth. When you walk on the street, peace walks with you like a colorless halo. No one sees it with eyes, but someone feels it with the heart. Like passing through a place where jasmine has bloomed, you do not see the flowers, but you smell the scent. My peace in you is not a sweet, heavy perfume, but a light, clean fragrance. It does not invade, does not crash in, does not demand attention. It simply exists. And when it exists long enough, it changes the atmosphere. Some have lived so long in tension that they no longer remember how to breathe naturally. But just standing near you a minute, a word, a gesture, they will feel something in their lungs open. Not a spectacular miracle, but a quiet one, a miracle in breath. I do this not so that people will honor you, but so that they will remember me. Peace is my sign, not yours. Many will never tell you anything. They do not need to. Peace does not need interpretation. They simply walk past and continue their life. But something will be different. In the evening, when they return home, they will feel lighter. They will smile a little without knowing why. They will give thanks for something small. They will be less angry, less afraid, less hurried. You will not know. They will not know. But I know. What you bring out is not a great message that everyone must hear. What you bring out is my atmosphere. That atmosphere spreads, not by effort, but by life. When the wind carries the scent from the fields, no one commands it to blow, it simply blows. When water touches hot stone, no one orders it to cool, it simply does. Peace is the same, it acts because that is its nature. And you, my child, carry that nature. There is nothing left to prove. No more hidden race against other faces. Light does not compete for a place. It does not push to be seen, it simply shines. People may overlook you in a crowd, but they cannot overlook the way the air softens when you walk in. Not because of what you do, but because you no longer need to do anything to be worthy. There is a great freedom in this. You do not need to impress to have value. You do not need to raise your voice to be heard. You only need to be true. And truth is strong enough to stand without fighting back. Such is the paradox of glory, the gentler, the deeper, the softer, the stronger. People are exhausted from having to shine by their own strength. They polish their words, strain to be noticed, live in fear of being forgotten. But when you walk in the rhythm of peace, you are different. You do not compete with anyone. You do not measure yourself by other people's eyes. When someone runs, you do not have to run with them. You simply walk. When someone argues to prove themselves, you do not need to respond. You simply remain present. There is a wide space in your heart, not because of what you have achieved, but because of what you have laid down. You lay down comparison. You lay down fear. You lay down performance. And in that place, you are more glorious than on any stage. There will be times when others will not understand. They are used to applause, used to praise, used to the heat of spotlights. They think anyone who does not fight has lost. But you do not fight, and yet you win. Not a victory over others, but a victory within. Not a victory of display, but a victory of rest. Light does not drive darkness out of a room by force. It simply appears, and darkness withdraws. This is not strategy, it is nature. You are invited to live by nature, not by strain. When you enter a space, you do not need to attract. You will see souls draw near by themselves, like leaves turning toward the sun. They do not know why. They only know that near you, they breathe more easily. Near you, they do not have to perform. Near you, they do not have to defend themselves. Not because you are safe in yourself, but because I am in you. That safety does not come from personality, but from presence. To not strive, and yet to win. You win in the hearts of others by a humility that carries weight. People may not have words for it, but they will step into it. The new space does not demand that you shine according to the standards of the world. It asks you to open your heart so that my light can shine from within. Not the makeup of moral performance, not layers of beautiful phrases, just you real, near, at rest. When you no longer have to compete, you are free to love. When you no longer have to prove yourself, you are free to receive. When you no longer have to search for a place to stand, you discover you have been standing in me all along. And from that place, you are spacious, generous, no longer cramped by jealousy or fear of being left behind. The deeper truth is this: light does not ask who deserves it. Light simply shines. When you live by that principle, you do not weigh who deserves love, who deserves attention. You simply love. You simply draw near. You do not hoard your energy to prove yourself. You pour out, because the source does not come from you, it comes from me. The source does not run dry. The source does not change. The source does not need human approval. That is why you do not need to look for a stage. You are my stage in the midst of ordinary life. Every morning is a decision, not a one-time act that settles everything, not a single sacred moment that carries you for life. The door does not slam shut behind you. It stands open, waiting, like the sun standing beyond the horizon, rising each day and asking again, do you want to step into the light? Light does not force, but it also does not stop inviting. Some days you will feel strong, some days you will feel tired, and on those mornings it will seem as though nothing is happening. But even the smallest moment is a choice to turn your face toward the light, or to turn back to what is old. Light does not shout, it merely touches your eyelids when you open your eyes. Do not think that the sacred is kept only in explosive moments. Miracles also happen in the slow rhythm, in the everyday breath. Each morning you choose to set your feet on the floor with the heart posture, today I walk in your light. Those words are not a magic formula, they are orientation. Like a hand closing on a door handle, like eyes catching the first trace of light along the window frame. On days when you are full of longing, you will run in. On days when you are drained, you will only step. But each step lays down a path not built by instant wonders, but by daily faithfulness. Many believe that my door is a rare moment that comes only once, and if they miss it, it is gone forever. But understand this: grace does not slam shut. Love does not withdraw. Every morning when you open your eyes, the door is still there, not to test you, but to gently remind you that you have a choice. No one can step through it for you. I do not drag you, I invite you. I do not pressure you, I open the way. And so reverence is not heavy, it is beautiful. You step not because you are afraid to lose, but because you know this is home, the home of peace, the home of truth. There will be mornings when you stand before the door longer. You will hear the echoes of old days, hear the voices of fear, of weariness, of doubt, but the sun still rises slow, steady, unhurried. You do not have to decide in panic. You only need to turn your face toward the light. Everything begins with the direction of your gaze, not with straining, but with turning back, with yes, today I choose again. That choice does not make a show, but it shapes the heart, and the heart shapes the path, a little each day, one step each morning. Those steps, though small, become a trail of grace. Others may not see it, but you know, I know. Faithfulness in small things is not insignificant. It is the secret of strength. When the door stands open, you do not need to rush in afraid it might close. You walk as one who belongs, Because light is not only a place to visit, it is a place to live. Each day, you choose. A little more light comes in, and a little more darkness quietly slips away. Without a sound, when I switch something on in you, no one under heaven has the right to turn it off. No system, no environment, no word spoken over you can throw a cloth over the light I have placed. The only place the stop can happen is here when you turn your own back. Light is not a fragile flame that must be shielded from the wind. It is my breath dwelling in your heart. When I decree, it stands firm. What I open, no one can shut, and what I shut, no one can open. Revelation 3:7. This is not only true of the doors of kingdoms, it is true of the spiritual door of your own life. No one can extinguish the light, only you can refuse to face it. Many assume that darkness wins when they see how deep the night has become. But night does not kill the sun. It only means the sun has passed to another side of the earth. Light still exists, even when hidden from sight. So it is with you. There will be days when you are tired, when you are quiet, when you feel nothing. You will think the light has left you, but the light has not left. You have simply turned your face another way. Every time you turn back, the flame flickers again. No new spark is needed. No great effort is needed. Only direction. The direction of the heart is what decides. I do not ask you to strain to keep the light burning. I only invite you to turn your heart toward me. People will say that light can be extinguished by criticism, by fear, by failure. But I tell you, this failure does not put out the light. It only teaches you how to walk in the dark for a while. Criticism does not extinguish the light. It only exposes an old fear inside you. Fear does not extinguish the light. It only covers your face with a trembling hand. But the light is still there, right behind that hand. You do not need to fight the darkness. You only need to open your hand. Some things appear strong but are weak, and some things seem light, yet carry power. Light belongs to the second category. It does not push, yet it wins. When I ignite something in your soul, it is not a momentary emotion, but a presence. Not a ritual, but a life. You do not need to shout to keep it. You do not need to clutch it in fear of losing it. My light is not a fragile object. It is the shape of truth within you. It roots itself deep like a root. It stands firm like a rock in a river. It is soft like morning on the water. When someone comes near, they do not know why their heart calms. They do not recognize the reason. They only feel the result. This is not a performance. It is testimony. When you step through the door, you will see something new. Darkness no longer touches you the same way. Not because you are stronger, but because you know the source. Fear will come, but it will not stay. Doubt will knock, but it will not build a house. You do not have to fight every thought like a frantic guard. You only need to know the light does not go out unless you turn away. So the battle is not to keep the flame, but to keep direction toward me, toward truth, toward peace. Each time you feel weak, do not ask, "Is the light still here?" Ask, "Where am I looking?" There is a responsibility here. Light, but deep. Not a burden to carry, but a weight in the heart. You do not have to protect the light. I protect it. You only need to be faithful in turning toward it. When you stand in it, you will become the shape of what you believe. People will look at you and say, "There is something here." They may not know the language, but they know the feeling. They may not know theology, but they know they breathe easier. No one can extinguish what I have lit. but you can cool it with indifference. So alertness is soft, not tense. Alertness is breath, not strain. There will be days when darkness feels thick. There will be days when the voices of people are loud. There will be days when emotions are tangled. But the light does not shrink. The light is not shy. The light is not a lamp set in a corner. Light is my nature in you. When you stand still, the light stands still with you. When you walk, the light walks. When you are silent, the light still shines. I did not place light on you as a lamp that is easily snuffed. I placed light in you as fire inside a mountain. Wind cannot touch it. Storm cannot take it. Others may only see the surface. But I see your spirit as a flame in stone. Your responsibility is not to carry the fire, but not to turn your back to it. Many think the battle is to fight darkness, but the battle is to keep your gaze. When your eyes are toward me, all darkness becomes only backdrop for light to be clearer. When your eyes turn toward old things, the fire is still there, but you do not see it. When you turn back, a single breath is enough. That breath is not effort, it is trust. No one can extinguish what I have lit. You simply need to walk in it as a truth that is light yet strong. Because light is not duty, but grace. Not pressure, but presence. Not performance, but life. No one can take what I have spoken over you. No one can touch what I have placed in you. No one can cover what I have made shine. There is only one question. Each day, are you turned toward the light? Walk into each day as one who carries something, not as one who comes to get something. Do not walk to fill your pockets, but to open your hands. Many think light is only enough for themselves, so they grasp and fear losing it. But light does not diminish when you give it. It grows. Every morning when you stand at the door, remember, you do not come as the needy, but as the sent. Walk as someone who carries peace in a pocket, gentle words in a hand, warmth in the eyes, not to show off, not to be noticed, but because that is the nature of one who has been with me. When you walk, the city will not be the same. Not because anyone knows your name, but because they feel the air change. Walk. Walk when your heart is light. Walk when your heart is heavy. Walk when you understand. Walk when you do not. A commission does not wait until everything is clear. It arrives the moment you agree to step. I do not require you to have a great plan, a long vision, or a perfect strategy. I only invite you to place one small step in ordinary life. Walk into cafes, into markets, into offices, into classrooms as someone carrying a lamp inside the chest. Others do not need to see the lamp to know there is light. They only need to feel the warmth. When you greet, when you smile, when you stand steady without tension, people will know something is different. Not about you, but about me in you. Walk into each day not to gather, but to leave something, a gentle word, a compassionate glance, a short touch of a hand. These are seeds. You do not need to know where they sprout. Many will fall in places you never expect, and in the right season, they will grow. Walk through the streets like water flowing between stones, not rushed, not loud, but steady. You do not have to change the city. You only need to walk in it with me. The change will come like night rain silently, but in the morning the leaves are wet. Walk, because you carry light, not theory. You carry life, not slogans. You carry peace, not opinions. You carry my breath, not religious burden. When you walk, the tension in the room will lower, not because you teach, but because you are there. When you walk, the weary will breathe deeper without knowing why. When you walk, conversations will lighten, faces will soften, closed hearts will open a narrow crack. You do not need to know everything, you only need to be near. Walk in as someone who belongs, not as someone begging for a place. There will be days you see no result. You will think nothing is happening. But remember, I do not require you to see in order to believe. I only invite you to believe and walk. Every step is a beam of light going out. Every kind word is a lamp placed on a table. Every unhurried presence is testimony. You do not carry signs. You do not carry slogans. You do not need loud declarations. You carry truth in the form of a real person. That is power. That is what I speak over you. Walk as one who carries, not to take, but to give, not to become, but because you already are. Walk, my child. Walk in joy. Joy not because of circumstances, but because of calling. Joy not because people praise you, but because I am with you. Joy not because you see everything, but because you know enough to take the next step. As you walk, you will discover that grace flowing out of you does not run dry. It comes from the source. That source is not behind you, it is within you. There is no need to pump it up, no need to strain, only to open your hands. And every time you open your hands, a measure of light pours out. Others will not say, "You are shining," but they will feel something quiet within them. They have been searching for a long time. That is the testimony. That is the glory. Walk, not to receive, but to carry. Walk, my child. And as you walk, remember, light is not loud. It does not need loudspeakers to announce itself. No scrolling headlines. No proof. It simply goes, and everything around it slowly changes. You will recognize it not by echoes, but by very small details. A person who used to be irritable softens when they meet you. A guarded pair of eyes grows gentle. A sentence that was about to be full of thorns suddenly slows down and reaches for kinder words. You will see such little things, and you will know it is not you working. It is I working through you. Walk as one who knows there is a river flowing quietly under the ground. Walk as one who carries a spring you yourself can never drain. Do not look into your pockets to calculate what is left. Do not count what you have given and fear being empty. I am the source. You are only the channel. When you open, water flows. When you close because of fear, water only pools inside you, and you think you lack. But when you open, you will see the miracle. The more you give, the more you have. The more you share, the more you receive. The more you walk, the brighter you grow. Walk in places that seem ordinary: the kitchen in the morning, the desk at work, the aisles of the supermarket, the apartment hallway, the bus seat. That is my field, not someone else's. Do not wait for big opportunities. Recognize that the small ones are the real opportunities. When you say good morning with your heart, it has weight. When you choose to listen instead of replying quickly, it has weight. When you refrain from quick judgment and choose to understand, it has weight. These small things are seeds scattered along the road, and the harvest will never disappoint the one who sows with me. Walk into conversations for which you did not prepare speeches. Do not think you must say something grand. Sometimes just a short sentence, a deep breath, A sincere smile is already a testimony. Those who are searching for peace do not need a sermon. They need to meet someone who is at peace. Those who are searching for hope do not need a thesis. They need to see that someone can stand in the storm without panic. Walk into places with that gentleness. You are not a performer, you are a refuge. You are not the center of the room. You are the quiet point in the room. Walk as one who has been freed from a competition no one ever wins. The world fights to be seen, to be recognized, to be celebrated. But you do not belong to that stage. You belong to the quiet place where every breath has meaning. You do not need to race to save a seat. I reserved a place for you long ago. You do not need to elbow your way into visibility. My light already rests on you. Walk slowly, but surely. Walk without haste, but with purpose. The purpose is not to outdo others, but to be true among others. Walk into difficult seasons with an open heart. Light is not only for sunny days, it is also for rainy ones. When you are sad, still walk. When you are tired, still walk. When you do not know what the future holds, still walk. Walk not because you are strong, but because the source in you is strong. There will be days when you feel nothing, no fire, no emotion, no excitement, but you still walk. And the miracle is that light still follows you like a mother walking behind a child learning to walk. You do not always notice, but I am still there. Walk beside others without shining a flashlight in their faces. Let them know they are not alone. Speak not to convince, but to accompany. Do not force anyone to change. Simply stand near so they can rest easier. Your presence will become a testimony. I did not send you into the world to argue, but to love, not to prove I am right, but to show that I am near. When they touch the peace in you, they touch me. When they hear the gentleness in your voice, they hear my whisper. When they see you unshaken in the midst of chaos, they know there is something different, that something makes them pause, reflect, and open. Walk, my child, every day, not to receive, but to carry, not to store up, but to pour out, not to go find a place to stand, but to become a place to stand. You are a lamp that is not meant to be hidden under a bowl. You are salt that is not meant to stay locked in a jar. You are fragrance not meant to be trapped in a vial. The whole world is waiting for a little warmth, not the warmth of a big stage, but the warmth of a real person, carrying real light, in a real day. That is your calling. That is your privilege. Walk. I am with you. And as you walk, heaven opens over the paths you take. In the marketplace, in the garden, in the small cafe, at the family table, in conversations that seem unimportant. Heaven and earth meet in such places, and you are the meeting point. Walk, not to receive, but to carry, not through straining, but through breathing, not with heaviness, but with joy. Joy because I am there. Joy because the light does not go out. Joy because every day is a chance to give what you have received. And remember, every time you step out of your house, the atmosphere shifts ever so slightly. That is the sign that I am with you, my child. Now that you have passed through the door, what I want you to hold in your heart is not nervousness, nor a heavy task. What I want you to hold is a rhythm of breath, the breathing of one who knows they are not alone, the breathing of one who no longer has to chase anyone, and no longer has to flee anything, the breathing of one who understands that grace does not come as a strange event and vanish, Grace is the air you inhale every morning. You do not have to strain to walk in the light. You only need to let the light pass through you. I have seen you on weary days, when your steps are slow, when your feet drag through streets full of things to do. I have seen you smile through pain, and I have heard the sighs that no one else knows. I have seen the tears that fell not from weakness, but from the softness of your heart. Not one drop is wasted. From every drop, a garden of compassion has grown, and from that garden you will water dry souls with the very water you once longed to receive. What you thought was a burden, I have turned into an instrument. What you thought was failure, I have turned into a door. What you thought was delay, I have turned into the foundation of breakthrough. You do not need to know everything in advance in order to walk. You do not need to see the whole road in order to trust. Each day is enough. As manna once came only in the morning, so my blessing on you comes in the rhythm of a day. You do not need to stockpile. You do not need to fear that tomorrow will lack. Step into today with gratitude. Receive the light of this morning. Open the window of your soul and let the wind pass through. You will see I am always there, right in the middle of ordinary things. My miracles do not only take place on high mountains, they unfold on paved walkways, in the sound of water boiling, in an unexpected phone call, in a kind word. I do not promise that the road will be free of storms. I do not promise that every day will be light. But I promise you this, you will not walk alone. You will not be swallowed by darkness. You will not be left forgotten on the sidelines. I held your hand before you knew how to hold mine. I chose you before you knew how to say my name. I watched you through long years when your heart did not know if anyone saw. And today, I speak to you with a voice that does not tremble. You belong to me. No force can say the opposite of what I have spoken. No failure from yesterday can bury the destiny I have placed within you. No worry of tomorrow can shake the foundation I have built in your heart. You do not need to become extraordinary to be useful. You do not need to do great things to be used. You only need to be real. Real is beautiful. Real is strong. Real is rare. I do not search for perfect statues to place upon high pedestals. I look for souls who know how to bend down and lift another. I look for soft hearts. Those soft hearts are precisely where I build my house. You thought you had to fix every crack before I would come, but it is through the cracks that light enters. Do not seal them. Let them become windows. My child, remember that the invisible door you walked through today does not lead you into a closed room. It leads you into a wide space, a vast field where every breath is an opportunity to love. You were not brought in to hide from the world, but to bring peace into the world. You were not hidden, and you do not need to perform. You only need to be with me. And when you are with me, you bring me wherever you are, not with loud shouts, but with presence, not with strategy, but with breath. Every day, pause for a moment. Before the words begin, before the worries rush in, place your hand over your heart and breathe. Breathe as one who knows they are loved. Breathe as one who knows there is nothing to prove. Breathe as one who trusts that today will be enough, because I am enough for you. And then go. Walk through life as one who carries fire, not fire that burns, but fire that warms. That fire does not flare up through effort, but through nearness. Near to me, near to truth, near to your own heart. Let the light you carry become a refuge for others. When someone is weary, let them sit near you. When someone is bitter, let them look into your eyes. When someone is afraid, Let them hear your breath. No explanations needed. No victory in arguments needed. Only presence. I will do the rest. I will use your presence to awaken hope, to bandage wounds, to open doors in hearts you do not even know. You do not need to see results. You only need to believe that your steps are sowing something that I will make grow. And when the day ends, do not measure yourself. Do not ask whether you were good enough, productive enough, whether you changed anyone. Ask only this: did I stay near to him? Did I walk in the light? Did I love? That is enough. The rest is mine. You are not the saving arm. I am. You are a torch in my hand, and I am the fire. Beloved child, rest in this: you are not loved because you are perfect. You are loved because you belong to me. Nothing you achieve today will make me love you more. Nothing you fail at today will make me love you less. My love is the ground beneath your feet. My light is the garment upon you. My grace is the air you breathe. And my presence is your inheritance, not when you are strong, but even when you are weak. Now, place your hand upon your heart and breathe. Slowly, deeply. I am here. Say this within yourself: I step into the light. I live in the light. I carry the light. I belong to you. I am loved. Amen. Keep walking. My child, I go with you in every day. Thank you for listening to today's message. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so that together we may receive living words. Build unshakable faith and walk in the boundless love of the Lord. Amen.